And we're back with AP as we see it, another segment. We're going to just wrap up with the Super Bowl. I just wanted to make mention, Cooper DeJean was a defensive back from Iowa. I couldn't remember his last name, but I had a chance to speak with him. Very smart, extremely athletic. Cornerback for the Philadelphia, had a big ball game, interception. But anyhow, the Philadelphia Eagles, congratulations to that organization. They have an outstanding roster, as I said, balanced, where no one has to be the star. It's a collective effort. Defensively, they have a defensive line that can get after the quarterback, pressure the quarterback, as we saw 6 sacks, I believe, double-digit hurries of Patrick Mahomes in Kansas City, one of the best quarterbacks of all time, multiple Super Bowl winner, MVP, but he was shut down completely. 34-0 at one point. There was no question who would win that ball game. We'd just like to thank our sponsors once again, Greer's Markets. 29 locations, Alabama, Florida, Mississippi. They have Lucy's recipes. You can check those out. Also, they have coloring contests monthly for the children. They have the groceries to go, so they'll deliver to your home, your office, any venue you choose, football, family, and friends. Remember, we have the SEC basketball, very popular. You probably be having parties for regular season games, the NCAA tournament, the Final Four. We're hoping to get one team out of the SEC into the tournament. I'd like to see one team since we cover the SEC primarily. So you'd like to see one team minimum, hopefully two. We'd like to get 5-6 teams the Sweet 16 because this is a tournament sport. But anyway, when you're shopping at Greer's, so many items to choose, and remember, Greer's got it; they guarantee it. One of our other sponsors, Wind Creek, they're in 3 locations in Alabama that support us: Atmore, Montgomery, Wetumpka. All the amenities for the adults and the children. They have the swimming pools, the movie theaters, the bowling alley, the restaurants, the cooking school. You could become a player by just sign up at one of those 3 locations in Alabama: Atmore, Montgomery, and Wetumpka, Wind Creek, and you'll have a lot of fun. And like I said, you could bring your family. The hospitality is second to none. The accommodations are luxurious, and they're all 3 here in the state of Alabama that you can enjoy. Wind Creek. So we thank all our sponsors, Greer's Markets and Wind Creek as well. We'd like to make mention that Philadelphia, I think that was most impressive. The X factor was certainly Saquon Barkley. The addition, he had the 2,000-plus yards. But something that I noted years ago when I was covering Alabama versus Clemson, the first time the Clemson players, when you mentioned Alabama, they said, well, we think we can beat Alabama. We think we can beat Alabama. They played them the second time, when they lost that first game. It was pretty close. It was the game where O.J. Howard had a very good night, and Marlon Humphrey recovered that onside kick on the desert in Arizona. Then they played them again in Tampa. When you discussed the game and their chances against Alabama, they said, we know we can beat Alabama. So I had that vibe when you were speaking to the Philadelphia team. They lost the first time to Kansas City. Jalen Hurts had an excellent ball game as well in that first contest. But you had the sense, plus the addition of Saquon Barkley, you had this feeling that Philadelphia would win that ball game. I think the number was thrown around that Kansas City played 12 games where they won by just 1 point, by 1 score. So this was not going to be a 1-score game. Philadelphia dominated completely. Hey, we're gonna shift gears right now. Speaking of the SEC basketball, it's been tremendous here, phenomenal, historic, unprecedented winning, especially in the non-conference games. They're in the polls. 9 teams are in the Associated Press poll. Will just give you those teams. Auburn number 1 this week. Alabama number 3. Florida's Alabama number 2. Florida number 3. Tennessee number 5. Texas A&M number 8. Kentucky number 15. Ole Miss 19. Mizzou is 21. Mississippi State 22. And then for the state of Alabama to be 1 and 2. Who would ever thought years ago that Alabama and Auburn, their basketball teams, would be vying for the number 1 position in all of college basketball? But when you devote the resources, you have the right leadership, good things can happen. And I want to discuss something with my audience today about being a basketball school. What does that mean? Well, let's take a look at the SEC, for example. You have 10 schools, okay, that have made the Final Four. Alabama joined those ranks last year. You have Alabama, Auburn, Arkansas, Florida, Georgia, LSU, Kentucky, of course, South Carolina, and the new additions, Oklahoma and Texas. Out of those 10 schools that have made the Final Four, 8 of them have won a college football playoff championship, or a college football championship, I should say. So this idea, this notion, this premise that you're a basketball school, you're a football school, you're a baseball school, you can win at many sports. It's the right leadership. So I've heard that for years, and I've always thought to myself, I remember Oklahoma was very good. They've been to the Final Four in the basketball, and they may not have won it, but to reach the Final Four is the pinnacle in college basketball. It's just so difficult, but that's the standard to reach the Final Four. Yes, you want to win the championship. You want to win, hoist the trophy at the end, the Final Four. But to reach the Final Four, you're a basketball school. I mean, you obviously know how to win ball games and reach the championship. It's just a matter if you have the consistency, the resources, the recruiting, the coaching. You can win in football. You can win in basketball. I don't subscribe to this idea that a school is a football school, basketball school. You can win. It's been done. I mean, it's been proven. Those are the numbers. 8 of the 10 Final Four teams from the SEC have won a college football championship. Those 10 teams have also been in the Final Four. So we realize that for whatever reason, I don't know, people have been promoting this idea, well, we're just a basketball school. No, that's not true. I mean, Kentucky, we've seen Indiana basketball. They made the first playoff. That's a basketball school. They're in the very first playoff when Alabama did not make it. LSU did not make it. Texas A&M did not make it. Oklahoma did not make it. Some of those blue-blooded schools that play football, they were not in the college football playoff. Indiana is in the college football playoff, ladies and gentlemen. So this idea that you're just a basketball school, a football school, baseball school, women's basketball school, you could win many. You can reach the playoffs. You can be in the championship games, play at that championship level. It doesn't matter. You're not just a one-sport school. I think that's where people who have a pessimistic idea of their programs. But if you get the right leadership, I say the right resources, recruiting, you develop players, you can be in the Final Four of any sport. I'm using that term. You can be in the championship level at any sport, but to really put the parameters that you're just a school that wins in women's basketball, men's basketball, football, baseball, golf, whatever it may be, you can certainly, there's opportunities, and especially with this NIL, name, image, and likeness, and the transfer portal, you combine those two where players are more apt to be lured to a school where they have opportunity. No longer do they want to sit on the bench, especially if they're 4- and 5-star players. And I use that term loosely because we know players without 4 and 5 stars become All-Americans and very successful. But in this age of the name, image, and likeness and the transfer portal, and you're able to manage rosters, you can all of a sudden become good in a sport where you thought that would never happen. So I just like to tell the fans, the alumni, the administrations, the presidents, the athletic directors, the coaches, there's hope for everybody now that you can be good in various sports. College football, college basketball, women's basketball, baseball, golf, any of these sports, you can become a champion. So I totally dismiss that notion that you're a one-sport school, even though that's been your history, because I think there's an outstanding opportunity that's never been present in the college athletics world for you to lure and acquire talent for all your sports. If you're smart, we know that it's not an infinite amount of money with your budget, but if you can come up with an economic approach to acquire talent, you can become good and be at the championship level for any sport you desire. You just have the support of your administration. You have to have some sort of, facilities have to be pretty good. But I don't think that's the key factor nowadays. Before it was you're taking someone to look at the locker rooms. Now they want to know, what is my number? And I don't mean your jersey number. I mean, what is my number with the NIL? So if you can manage those types of things, you could be at the championship level. And in this era, it's a new world, and it's exciting to have different teams be in the Final Four in basketball, women's basketball, the college football playoffs. But anyway, we're going to be right back after these messages for another segment of AP as we see it.